I'm Mad Martin the Mangrove Man. Whoops! 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 Well, you might have known me in a slightly different incarnation when I was teaching your class. I was Mr. Keeley in those days, but now I'm morphed. I've morphed into Mad Martin. You know, you've probably never heard of the Central Mangroves, but and you probably don't know much about mangroves at all, right? Well, you know about the fact that they stop the storms, they stop the hurricanes, and lots of juvenile fish and that sort of thing that you catch on the reef, well, they live there too. But there's a lot more. That's just scratching the surface. So what we're going to do now is we're going to tell you about how important the mangroves are and how vital they are for the Cayman Islands, and in particular with the central mangroves to Grand Cayman. Back to the central mangroves and Grand Cayman. Well, you probably noticed them, but you didn't notice them, okay? So if you were flying to the BRAC or back home to Cayman from the BRAC, you probably noticed the time when you were just going into Grand Cayman and the plane went whoops. You know, thought, oh, and you looked out of the window and you looked down, and that's what the central mangroves were. And they were what was causing the plane's turbulence. And, well, more of that in another episode. Okay, let's deal with some factoids, just for your next essay, okay? So, here's some factoids. Did you know that the central mangroves are the largest contiguous area of mangroves in the whole of the Caribbean?
Hey, wait a minute!
Yeah, okay, contiguous. That means they're all joined together, okay? There's no break in there at all. They just go from one end to the other without a break. Okay, that's contiguous.
Thank you, you wonderful man!
And did you know that the central mangroves actually are 8,500 acres? That is seriously huge. That is seriously huge. And the other thing to know is that they are only 10% of the central mangroves are protected.
What are you talking about?
Some by the National Trust and others by the Department of Environment. That's all.
What? This is an outrage!
The other thing to think about is this. If you've ever been to Stingray City and you looked at all those stingrays, you know, without the central mangroves, they wouldn't exist because they depend on it from the food and everything else that flows out of there into North Sound. From the calm waters of the North Sound, the ever-expanding red mangrove forests present an impenetrable wall. And it's that wall that protects you and the island from the fury of hurricanes. Okay, that's enough data, okay? So, the central mangroves are the true heart of Grand Cayman. It's a dense, jungle-like tangle of roots and branches that whip at your face as you push through them, trying to avoid the glutinous, foot-sucking mud that surrounds them. Most of all, in the deep forest, you become aware of the absence of human sounds. No cars, no trucks, no ghetto blasters, no aircraft. Just there's nothing but silence. But it's not really a silence. If you listen very closely, you can hear the sounds of the mangrove ecosystem, the sounds of the birds in the trees, different species, the sounds of the fish splashing in the lagoon, the sounds of crickets, the sounds of insects, everywhere the sound of insects, and of course, the dreaded mosquito. And you wonder why all these critters live here. And how come these trees live in salt water? And a million and other questions about this incredible ecosystem. Questions we'll answer in the upcoming stories about the central mangroves and the biggest question of all, Why haven't we found a way to protect this magical ecosystem, this magical, wonderful place for Cayman, for our children, for our grandchildren, something to show for them? Why haven't we done that? I'll leave that question in your minds. And this is Mad Martin, the Mangrove Man, turning off now until the next episode of this series. Bye. Bye.